Assalamu alaikum, my brothers and sisters. I do acknowledge that the time is not with us, because I would like to give praises that could go from here to end of the year on the great president, the late president, President Morsy. President Morsy's first qualification that was him being honored as a Hafiz of the Quran. Of course, some brothers has repeated quite a few things that I wanted to say, so I wouldn't want to repeat and just continue in terms of what President Morsy has achieved. One, he had a PhD as a professor and headed the Department of Engineering in his lifetime. If we note, all Egyptian presidents living lavishly in the Arab countries. When President Morsy walked into the President's Palace for the first time, he made up his mind that he would not live in these great palaces, but rather he would rent a flat, and the only work he'll do in these palaces, he'll do government official work. And then he rented a flat, and he was humiliated by some of the reactionaries that were opposing the Muslim Brotherhood. They sprayed graffiti on the walls and threatened his life. But just to show you the honorable president, so the president went to the hospital to visit his sister. He went to visit his sister in hospital, and the doctors told him that she'll get better treatment if she was transferred to Europe or America. All he needed was to order a helicopter or a plane which he commanded as the commander-in-chief in the country. He refused, stating that his family would not be favored above others in Egypt. And she passed away in a government hospital like any other Egyptian citizen. Can you imagine any minister in South Africa using the government hospital? That would never happen in our country, but this is the great president. Of course, while giving a speech and to commit himself to Islam, and will not be shy to say we are Muslims and we stand upon our beliefs. While he was giving a speech, there would be a loud, the azan would start immediately, and President Morsy would pause for a minute, and then he recite the azan, not being intimidated by the international press. A homeless woman used to sleep on the street in Cairo. One day he pulled up, and President Morsy himself got out of the back. He asked her where she's sleeping. She said she's sleeping in the street. He told these people in the car that assist the woman and let her continue, got a house for her, and that house was being paid by the state. It's a small house, but since the coup, the woman is back on the street. Now we can go on of the humanitarian great beliefs in the great president that Egypt will see again. As it's seen previously, Salahuddin Ayyubi led Egypt to its freedom. But here we see this president follow the footsteps of Salahuddin Ayyubi. And we must not be shy to see the devils of the universe. If you look at President Morsy and if you look at Chile, there was a democratic revolution in Chile. What did it do with El Salvador Allende was the same thing they did with President Morsy. They infiltrated the unions in Chile. They took them to America, and they brought the Chilean workers to come and strike. And the same thing they did with President Morsy. They created a coup in Tahrir Square against the democratic people. But we would acknowledge, and we be not shy, the two Islamic countries, in my opinion, are still alive, with Muslims around the world to protect us. Of course, Turkey and Iran. We should not be shy to acknowledge Iran's great work that they're doing. My brothers and sisters, we need to say that the devils, there's only one devil, and that devil is America. And he has 4 sons that we can't say which is the good and the bad sons. And one of the biggest sons is Israel. Israel is the devil's son. And of course, I'm not shy to say Saudi Arabia is the second son. And of course, we need not shy that Emirates is the third son. And Egypt is the 4th son. And we come again, lastly, just quickly not to take the brothers' time. We have the African Union. Some of you know the African Union, others don't know the African Union. And the African Union has become a circus, because the biggest clown in the African Union is Sisi. Now, it's becoming a comic in the universe of where we are. So he expels Sudan. Sisi expelled Sudan. Why he expelled Sudan? Because the government of Sudan has killed 93 children. And you can see the hypocrisy while he's murdered 10,000 people at the Raba Alawiya. So I'm saying to my brothers and sisters, as Muslims, we must be clear in our ideology. We should not run away from Ikhwan Muslimin's position of the Quran, and we stand by Jazakallah. Assalamu alaikum.